All right, thank you, everyone. I think we'll get started. I'm the only one standing in between you and a nice cold beverage, so thanks for everyone for attending now. Welcome to Noble Capital Markets' 18th Annual Investor Conference. I'm Robert Samuels, Comtech's new Vice President of Investor Relations. With me today is Michael Bondi, CFO, sitting here in the front row. Before I start the presentation, I would like to quickly highlight a few things. Unless otherwise stated, the information discussed today is as of March 10, 2022, the date that we last released earnings. Next, please review our cautionary language on slide 3. And finally, please see the last several slides in the deck, which have more financial information and reconciliations for your reference. This is an exciting time for Comtech, and by the end of this presentation, we're hoping you'll agree. First, this is a transformative time for our end markets. We're at the beginning of a generational demand cycle, driven by growing investment by both governments and businesses worldwide in critical communications infrastructure, which I'll talk about in detail later. Second, Comtech itself has transformed with new leadership, a refreshed board of directors, an infusion of capital, and new products and investments that will put us and our customers in a dominant position when it comes to fail-safe technologies. The fail-safe communications market includes the critical communications infrastructure that people, businesses, and governments turn to when they need to connect, no matter what's happening or where they are. Comtech makes gear that has to work anywhere on land, at sea, or in the air, and no matter what's going on outside, from armed conflict to a natural disaster. In simple terms, Comtech sells communication solutions that our customers trust will provide durable, reliable connectivity. Specifically, we supply best-in-breed, cutting-edge solutions, including 911 public safety and location technologies, and satellite ground station equipment that modernize sophisticated networks. We don't build satellites that are launched into space. We instead supply solutions for the ground equipment that interacts with the satellites, like modems, amplifiers, and antennas. And while we don't operate the public safety answering points themselves, we provide the hardware and software necessary to transmit wireless emergency calls, texts, videos, and photos to first responders. Comtech is known for solving complex problems. We do not offer commodity or consumer-type technology, but instead sell to large enterprises around the world, including government and military customers that have sophisticated wireless communication and network needs. The Comtech brand is highly recognized for quality. We have about 400 or so top engineers, experts if you will, in the fields of satellite cellular backhaul, 911 and location-based technologies, and cutting-edge network communications. We're a small company, but with a good market niche. And so it is very difficult for somebody to get into this space, given the talent that we already have on the bench. Comtech has been a public company since the 70s, and we are well respected in our field. We trade on NASDAQ under the symbol CMTL. In terms of size, we did about $582 million in revenue in fiscal 21, and roughly $77 million of adjusted EBITDA. Over the years, we have generated profits and strong cash flows. And that is kind of unique in our space, given that we are a technology company, which invests heavily in research and development. Also, Comtech pays dividends. In fact, we have paid 47 quarterly dividends in a row. We believe dividends are a great way to return part of our profits and operating cash flows to our shareholders. We have good visibility into our revenues too. Through our funded backlog, as well as contracts in place with future expected funding to come, we have about $1.2 billion of top-line visibility. We believe that our long-term fundamentals are strong, and the market growth drivers in the key areas that we serve will drive future expansion of our business. And at the end of the day, despite some short-term headwinds, we feel pretty good about our long-term prospects. As highlighted on this slide and the slide before, Comtech participates in two end markets that are expected to significantly grow over the next several years. They are the next generation 911 public safety market, which is expected to grow to $1.1 billion by 2026, and the satellite ground station equipment market, which is expected to grow close to $9 billion by 2029. On the left side of the slide, we provided some information on our next generation 911 solutions. In fiscal 2021, Comtech won over $200 million in multi-year agreements with, for example, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the states of Arizona and Iowa. In fact, Comtech was recognized by Frost & Sullivan for achieving the most significant year-over-year market share gains of any next-generation 911 primary contract holder. And we continue to have a robust pipeline of opportunities as we look to capitalize on a once-in-a-generation upgrade cycle to modernize aging 911 systems on a state-by-state basis. On the right side of the slide, we've provided some information on our satellite ground station business. Here, our mission is to connect the unconnected. With our industry-leading modems, amplifiers, and XY steerable antennas, our satellite networking equipment facilitates wireless connectivity to underserved areas and populations around the world. In short, we've been recognized by Northern Sky Research, a well-known firm in our industry, for our leadership in the growing satellite cellular backhaul market. Through our continued investments in R&D and through strategic acquisitions over the years, we have created a more balanced portfolio of secure wireless technologies and capabilities. Now, let me talk a little bit more about our 911 public safety and location technology services. Here, we often say a 911 call, it's one of the most important calls that you will ever have to make. And we participate in many aspects of the 911 end-to-end process, including call routing from a mobile device onto the emergency network, and then to what's called the public safety answering point. From there, we also offer call handling solutions, such as our best-in-breed Guardian software platform, to help the first responder process all of that information. Here, we are a true market leader. We are only one of two companies in the U.S. that provides 911 call routing. Basically, this is when you pick up your cell phone and dial 911. We route a significant portion of these calls. As part of this solution, we provide unique location-based information to the first responder. Probably the number one piece of information that a 911 operator needs is your location, and it must be precise. In this part of the business, there's another tag phrase that we often use. When you call 911, close enough is not good enough. Accurate information is what state and local municipalities demand. It's also what regulations require. We gather this location information and provide it to the first responders, and it's a critical aspect of routing emergency 911 calls. Let me also highlight what I mean by next generation 911 systems. Today, in many parts of the country, you still can't find a text message or a video, or still can't send a text message or a video to 911 first responders. Many 911 systems are old, and they need to be upgraded to handle these types of data transmissions, as well as to have the ability to properly identify and securely store such information. This kind of major technology refresh doesn't come often, and as you're able to see on the next slide, we're capturing a fair share of the next generation 911 upgrade business. So in simple terms, we're talking about taking the current 911 systems to the cloud, and we are clearly a leader in maintaining, operating, and upgrading these type of 911 systems so they can better provide better information to first responders. As I mentioned, in fiscal 2021, we were awarded over $200 million in multi-year next-generation 911 contracts. As a result, our direct next-generation 911 contracts now represent a population of over 55 million. States that we support include the state of Washington, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the state of South Carolina, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the state of Arizona, Iowa, and Maine. We also do a fair amount of work up in Canada, supporting their fire and police departments in major cities. We continue to do work with many different customers, and there are other opportunities that are out there, both at the state, city, and local municipality levels. These are great contracts to have, and although they are a bit lumpy and difficult to predict, once we get them, we expect to have them for many years ahead. So we are really excited about this upgrade cycle and our continued wins in this market. Now, let me briefly talk about our position in the Satcom industry. We are a leading global provider of satellite modems, amplifiers, and antennas. When you are a global cellular or mobile network operator and you want to transmit cellular traffic from a large city to a smaller city, or transmit information from the mainland to part of, let's say, a jungle, or across an island, or over mountains, you genuinely use satellite equipment to backhaul that traffic. And you do that because it is a lot less expensive than running fiber or standing up cell towers. If you think about the number of mobile network operators in the world, whether it be Verizon, AT&T, China MobileSat, or a company called Orange, which is a large operator in Africa, there's tremendous demand from end customers, particularly in international markets that are rolling out 4G and 5G solutions. So satellite cellular backhaul is an important part of networks, and as we migrate to 5G, we believe it will open tremendous opportunities for us because there's going to be a need for more transmission of data and more of a need to have cellular backhaul over satellite. And as we look forward, we expect this trend to remain in place for many years, as we believe the industry is in the early stages of multi-year growth cycle. Also, in early 2021, we completed our acquisition of UHP, a leading provider of disruptive satellite ground station technology. And we are excited to extend our product offerings to now include TDMA satellite modems. Prior to the acquisition, we did not have a TDMA technology in-house. Instead, we historically focused our investments on single channel per carrier, or SCPC technology, which provides best-in-breed quality for high-volume data transmissions. TDMA has evolved into a lower cost, but high-quality alternative to single channel per carrier modems. It is less costly because of its IP-based nature, and it can be used on very large networks. When you put the two capabilities together, SCPC and TDMA, we will be able to provide customers a unique solution that we don't think anybody else in the world could do today, making us a true one-stop shop for satellite networking systems. With the acquisition of UHP, we believe we are headed in the right direction, and we are excited to be offering new products to our customers, such as our recently launched Comtech Elevate, which is a next-generation software-defined Satcom solution designed to accelerate growth and scalability of networks and seamless integration of hybrid, multi-provider, and multi-layered bandwidth resources. And with the emergence of new LEO and MEO satellite constellations, there's a strong need for operators to track these satellites. It takes very sophisticated networks to do it. You must have the ability to hand off communication from one satellite to the next, and this is where some of our systems and equipment and technologies play, including our XY steerable antennas we now offer through our acquisition of CGC. With this trend, we believe there is a significant installed base of equipment that needs to be upgraded, and a whole bunch of installations for new satellite ground station terminals. As part of our strategy, we intend to remain independent as to who builds the satellites. We are going to build solutions that will work with most all the satellites out there. We are going to provide interoperability with our network management software solutions and our modulation techniques used in our modems and amplifiers. Hundreds of LEO satellites have been launched to date, and people are reporting thousands still yet to be launched. Like we did for our next-gen 911 public safety and location technology end markets, here on this slide, we also provided some market data about our positioning in the satellite ground station equipment market. As you can see from the tables at the top of the slide, we are in the right end markets that are expected to grow significantly over the next decade. We also provided some pictures of our products, such as our market-leading SCPC modems, our amplifiers, and our recently acquired TDMA modems and XY steerable antenna solutions. On this slide, you can see our financial performance over time. Growth in fiscal 2017 through 2019 was mostly organic. Also, given our July 31st year end, the second half of fiscal 2020 was impacted by COVID. This compares to a full 12 months of COVID's impact on our fiscal 21 and expected fiscal 2022. A takeaway from this slide is that while COVID-19 and supply chain challenges have broadly pressured the timing of new bookings and operating margins, as did the U.S.'s withdrawal from Afghanistan and Russia's incursion into Ukraine, overall, we believe that underlying demand for our solutions remains very robust, as evidenced by our next slide. This slide provides context for the $1.2 billion of top-line visibility that I referenced earlier. As of January 31st, we had close to $600 million of funded backlog. So in simple terms, that's over a year's worth of revenue, if you were to use fiscal 22 as a proxy. And we have other contracts in place, not contracts that we are anticipating, but contracts that we already have, for which we are expecting funding to come in. Adding them together, we get over $1 billion worth of visibility. Also, high level, when factoring in our book-to-ship satellite ground station equipment business, you can think of our backlog turning to revenue over the next 24 months. And none of this includes the significant potential future revenues associated with a large multi-year agreement we have for next-gen satellite technology. Comtech has a long history of returning capital to shareholders. In the past, we have executed on share buyback programs and currently are authorized to purchase up to 100 million of our common shares. Also, despite the headwinds from COVID-19, we have been able to maintain our quarterly cash dividend program, which over the past 5 years alone returned nearly 60 million to shareholders. Now, before I wrap up, I do want to point you to this slide, which outlines some of our initiatives that to further enhance shareholder value. These include our company-wide efforts to further enhance our team with the recent additions of a new COO to further increase operating efficiencies, a new Vice President of Human Resources to energize our corporate culture and attract new talent, and a Vice President of Investor Relations, that's me by the way, to collaborate and capitalize on new multi-year investment cycles and emerging opportunities, to modernize the Comtech brand and develop and grow our social media presence, to finish evaluating our segment reporting approach, and to review M&A opportunities to establish strategic priorities and appropriate capital allocation plans. I'd also like to point out that our action-oriented board is executing on a thoughtful corporate governance refreshment process, which included the appointment of 3 new female directors in the last several years, the retirement of 3 longtime directors in December 2021, and the completion of a multi-year CEO transition plan. As you can see on this slide, we have a robust agenda to drive shareholder value. So to recap, we are true leaders in each of our markets. We are a technology company with over 400 plus engineers. We discussed our key demand drivers, and we believe those end markets that we are participating in are clearly growing over the long term. If you take the time, in summary, to think about it in a very simplistic way, we provide hardware and software for addressing the adoption of 5G, the growing 911 upgrade business, and the insatiable demand by governments and commercial customers for increased and higher quality data transmissions. We've been around for a long time and have an experienced and refreshed management team. We believe we are navigating through the pandemic and supply chain constraints carefully, and looking forward, feel pretty good about our long-term future. With that ends our presentation, and I thank you for participating in today's investor conference. Are there any questions?
Do you manufacture all the equipment you're selling, or do you buy from third parties and private label?
So the question, just to repeat for the online audience, is do we manufacture all of our equipment on our own, or do we buy from third party and private label? The answer to that is we do manufacture most of our systems on our own. Mike, I don't know if you want to answer that. Yes, so yeah, we do manufacture most of our systems on our own. Sorry? No, the question is, where do we manufacture our systems? I say, our supply chain is pretty global. We obviously manufacture here in the U.S., given that we do have contracts with the U.S. government, but, some of our manufacturing is done overseas as well. In Europe, over in Asia. Am I missing anything? In the UK. That's right. Any other questions? If not, thanks very much.